Mahalo everyone, and welcome back to the Jolly Scarecrows channel. You're with me, Joe, and today I'm going to be presenting a what if deck. We've not done one of these for a while. Essentially, we take an older character from the original series and bring their ethos and kind of how they played Yu-Gi-Oh! And we put a modern spin on it. We give them a modern deck and see how well it does. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing some of the kind of more scary, fiendish characters from the original series, Duelist Kingdom. And so this is Panik's deck. And for Panik, there were a few different options, but I really quite like the Unchained. Partially because obviously they're quite this dark theme, and they're kind of about destroying themselves to bring out these kind of level 8 beaters, the Unchained Soul. Obviously, we need to remember that Yugi was chained up in that duel as well. The other reason for doing that is because the Unchained are some of the best ways to bring out Xenophon's The Sky Prison, which is my kind of replacement for the Castle of Dark Illusions. And it actually works really well because you can sit behind this thing, it's got good defense, it gains more defense as monsters get pumped into the graveyard. And by detaching material, you prevent your opponent from special summoning from the graveyard. And obviously, you can probably think off the top of your head numerous decks that this can shut down. So you can sit there behind the Sky Prison, having shut them down. We're also going to be playing Lord of the Heavenly Prison, which again can be quite a defensive card, allows us to play defensively, protecting our key spells and traps. Incidentally, it kind of can backfire, which is also something that happened to Panik. So there's a kind of a knowingness that actually if you use Lord of the Heavenly Prison, you actually prevent your own Unchained cards from destroying your spells and traps, and that's really how the Unchained engine works. It's about playing multiple Unchains, getting ones to destroy the other, and eventually allowing you to build up a field presence of linked monsters. Either this link 2, which lets you link using your opponent's monster during their main phase, or obviously the Soul of Anguish is the next step up. That's you usually go from the Rage to the Anguish, and then from there during your turn you can use one of your opponent's monsters to bring out the boss of the deck. You'd say the King of Yami Makai, equivalent to the Unchained Abomination, and that gives you kind of a constant destruction threat. And again, against certain decks, that's really, really strong. You can sit basically with the Unchained Abomination there, and you turn, pop a card. Use one of your effects to destroy one of your own cards, pop another card, and you can just sit, pop your opponent's cards, whilst not even having to make big plays. The rest of the deck, I guess, follows a general template of sometimes helping the theme. So we're running 3 of the Unchained Arua because this is the one that works from the hand. And other supporting cards, the Dark Spirit of Malice is really good for recycling the main level 8s. We're only running 2 copies of the Soul, 1 copy of the Disaster, but you're seeing these turn 1, turn 2 most duels straight from the deck. We're running a tiny, like Burning Abyss, Phantom Knights engine in here because obviously we're using a lot of level 3s, so you can use the combos of getting Tour Guide, and that will let you bring out the Phantom Knights cards and Fog Blade, just to give yourself a bit of kind of protection. If you happen to have not drawn the cards that you need, you can still easily kind of bring out Rusty Perdition and get some of your some cards in the graveyard. Dark Rule No More, again, I think quite thematic with the cards Panik would play. The 2 real standout ones, the 2 real odd ones, Dark Honest and Blazing Mirror Force, and these are in here really to fit the theme. Obviously, Panik tend in his duel to shroud his monsters in darkness, so Yugi was unable to see their attack. And the way I've tried to replicate this, I did think about using shadows because you set them all the time, but actually I quite like instead having things like the Unchained Soul and things like that, and then having Dark Honest in the hand, so actually your opponent doesn't know essentially what the battle damage is going to be when they go in for an attack. And then Blazing Mirror Force, obviously this threat of fire, which he tried to ingest into the jewels. You know, if you're playing obviously a proper Unchained deck, you're never going to have something like Blazing Mirror Force in there. But in this instance, I felt it was a good thematic pick. The rest of things in the extra deck, Shadowlish, easy to play out, so we've actually managed to get ourselves a Reaper in there as well. And otherwise, it's fairly standard Unchained stuff. You know, Soul of Rage can be used to bring out, Nightmare Unicorn on your opponent's turn and things like that, so that's obviously quite nice. Beat Cop can often come out, allowing you to protect your Unchained Abomination or your Sky Prison, maybe doing the effect of the Luster Shield. And yeah, Rivalry of Warlords is just in there as a strong counter, though as you'll see in the replays, it didn't quite go according to plan. So with that, I'm going to showcase for you a few joules of how the deck is supposed to work. We've got a few different kind of UIs going on with that, as I'm kind of testing out Dueling Nexus's new replay system. So if there is a particular replay that works best for you in terms of visually and graphics, you understand the most about what's going on, please comment, and that will really help us kind of make our dual replay segments better in the future. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this deck video. Join me next time where you won't stand a ghost of a chance of guessing who it might be. Right, really simple clip for you here. Obviously, I'm going to be here in the top, playing my opponent, who's playing a kind of warrior, warrior turbo, Phantom Knight, or just using Armageddon Knight. And so we'll see here, the main aim of my deck is to use kind of this fire Unchained in the hand, because then you can use the destruction effect if I've got a different type of Unchained monster, and in this instance I have the water. As the water went to the grave, I can now use the effect to bring out the twins, which lets me revive itself again. And you can basically just keep destroying your own monsters in order to proc their effects. So in this instance, I'm able to summon the Soul of the Disaster from the deck. And that lets me be in the stage where I bring out the Link 2 on my opponent's turn. So I am then able to link summon using their monster if the opportunity presents. With that, I can use the kind of effect of the Soul of Disaster in the hand to summon itself. I'll just speed up here a little to show you what happens. Obviously, some mix around how things work. So Armageddon Knight gets rid of Destrudo, and we know what Destrudo is going to do. They're going to pay off their life points, bring it back, and try and synchro-summon. And so obviously, it's this instance that fine, I'm not going to have that, so I'm going to link off into the Link 3 Soul of Anguish. And that forces my opponent to end their turn. They've got obviously Phantom Knight's trap face down, so they're able to negate the destruction effect of my water Unchained. But that's okay. We speed it up quite a bit now because I'm in the position to really easily bring out Unchained Abomination. Such a good card, and they're down to 4,000 life points anyway. So I don't really need to do so much here. I boost up my Cherubini. Oh no, actually I summon Beat Cop, and that gives me that 4,000 that I need to win the game. Okay, so in this duel we're going to go up against Sky Strikers. We're going first, they max see us because I'm playing a deck with an old band list, so you'll see a bit more evidence of that later. Fortunately, I'm not really in a position to that affects me so much. I set the traps, and I expect to summon out the Unchained Soul. I don't use its destruction effect because I kind of want to keep those cards in the hand. So use Hornet Drones and start to pick up that combo. Maybe I'll just speed it up a little bit. Using Engage, searching for more spells. I don't think they pop off as well as they perhaps might, but obviously with that 3,000 volume, they're not best placed to get over it, and they haven't drawn quite the spells they need to regenerate. Rivalry of Warlords here, not really doing too much. They soloed our tour guide, which prevented us from really doing anything though, but we're still able to bash over them. They've got their Hornet drones again to keep playing monsters, and they've got multi-roll as well, which is going to be a problem. They're going to be generating advantage, so I need to do something about that multi-roll as soon as I can. I just resume the replay. Polygonal chamber, that's all. They go for twin twisters, which is fortunately kind of the thing I need, because that means that I can bring out Unchained Soul and use its effect, pop my own Honest to get rid of their continued spell, and that puts me in a really strong position. They use Engage, they boost them their redraw, they get max C off it, and Hornet Drones. But this, I think, puts me in a really strong position, even if they max C. I've not got spell transfer to use their jamming waves. I bring out the key card of the duel. Sanifon the Sky Prism means that by detaching material, I prevent them from special summoning monsters from the graveyard, which is basically all Sky Strikers are doing. And so this puts them in a rut. Essentially, they're still able to bring out their token. Not sure quite why they do this, because it prevents them from using their own copies of Engage. I only can see that now looking at the replay. But yeah, sometimes you get that with bots, so if they've got a full hand that they're just not using because they can't. I use the Strikers to maintain my control over the duel. They're down to 200 life points. They try and cheese us here with Halka Vibrax, and they then bring out Jet Synchron, and they then bring out Summon Sorceress. You can see they're going for it with all of these older cards. However, I've got to trip up my sleeve as well. So I'll use the Order of Heavenly Prison here. Really, I should probably activate my card. First, I'll bring out the Unchained Shield of Disaster. That lets me use their Link 3 and it to bring out my Link 4 Unchained Abomination and win the duel back. Okay, so in this duel, I'm going up against Adventurer Token. Obviously, I don't realise this for a while because my opponent doesn't really draw anything that links it to Adventurer. So you can see, obviously, we attempt to use the Unchained Reiki's effect, destroying the Escape of the Unchained, even though they did use Max C, I believe. But what I wanted to do was get out the Link 2, but they Ash Blossom the Escape from the Unchained, so I'm not able to special summon. They're still not kind of drawing cards in their archetype. They get a good shot off there with Harpy's Feather Duster, but they're only able to bring out Ash Blossom. I try once again to use the Destruction effect, and then they just Solemn Strike my my Unchained Reiki, but fortunately that lets me bring out the Unchained Soul of Disaster. And so with this effect, I'm able to use their Ash Blossom as link material to bring out the all-important Link 2, and that means that whenever they're going to try and play a monster in their main phase, I can bring out the Link 3 Unchained monster. And you'll see that happens because they end up obviously using their Enchantress, banishing it from the hand, adding the Searcher, and now they've got out their Adventure token. So I immediately use that to go into that Link 3. They've still got Fateful Adventure, so they're still generating quite a lot of advantage. And really, Rivalry of Warlords is again not particularly useful in this deck. I promise you it does have a good amount of use against others. But once I've got out Unchained Abomination, it admittedly itself doesn't have much protection, but my opponent isn't able to get the resources on the field to destroy it because I'm popping them at every opportunity I can get. So you see here, once again, they search for their right, special summoning out their token, equipping their token, and now we're in a fairly dangerous situation. But instead of doing what perhaps they should do, so while it's equipped, target one card they control, return it to the hand. They, I don't know why they don't do Unchained Abomination, but they don't. And I guess that's part of the kind of things of dueling a bot, where you're able to take advantage of the situation. And instead, I'm able to run them over despite them impermanenting my tour guide. And so yeah, that's the replays. Let me know what you think of the deck, and we'll see you for another video soon on the Jolly Scarecrows channel.